Hey YouTube, this is the Asomtom AO-Q7, which is my new e-bike. I've had this for about 100 miles. You can look back. I recently made a video about a bike I've had quite a bit longer. This is a nicer bike, more powerful bike with bigger tires. You can see this has 4-inch, 26 by 4-inch fat tires. And this does have a 750 watt rear hub motor. You can see it proudly branded a Bafang motor. And also pretty prominent branding with the Asomtom.com website, so you'll know where you can get your own one of these. As you can see, I've got a couple of bags on, left open on the back, taking my phone out. But yeah, so I've been riding this bike. I've got a little over 100 miles on it. I just am midway through a ride this morning, put about 5 miles on it. Battery is currently showing 100%, but I'll talk more about the battery life later. As you can see, I've also added a third-party headlight, which we'll also talk about, the built-in headlight. But yeah, so far I've been pretty impressed with this bike. As you can see, it's a hardtail design, very heavy duty. This is rated for 400 pounds, which is a lot of weight. I'm a big guy, so that appeals to me. I'm not quite 400 pounds, but it's nice to have the little bit extra. So yeah, this is the Asomtom AO-Q7, and let's get into it a little bit. One more thing I will mention, just looking at this, is that I paid $1,400 for mine and purchased it from Amazon, and it shipped quite quickly. I got it in like 5 days after purchasing it, which was pretty cool because the tot guard took a lot longer. So as mentioned, the Asomtom, I'm just going to call it the Q7 for the model. The Q7 has a rear hub motor that is 750 watts. They say it's 1,000 watts peak, and it feels quite snappy. That is connected to this pretty nifty controller set up in the middle that almost makes it look like it could be a mid-drive bike, just due to like how overbuilt this little compartment for the controller is. But it's nice that it's built. One thing that I've noticed about this motor controller combination is that it seems to be unlocked right now. I've had no problems getting this bike up over 30 miles an hour. The highest I've hit, and this is pedaling with it on flat territory, and pedaling really hard because you're having to move fast to do that, but I've hit 34, a little over 34, which is pretty darn fast on a $1,400 e-bike, and pretty cool. So if you're planning to do any pedaling along with that 750 watt motor, there is a 7-speed drivetrain. Which I haven't had. Well, I should do some adjustments on it. I was going to say I haven't had any problems with it. It's running smoothly, but it's not shifting totally smoothly out of the box. But not too bad, so I haven't, felt the need to mess with it. All right, here's that 7-speed shifter, and right next to it there is also the half-twist throttle control, which is the same type of throttle control I had on my other bike, or still have on the other bike, and I find it pretty enjoyable to use. There's a little bit of, it feels like a delay on the throttle, which is probably good because when this motor fully kicks in on pedal assist, it really goes. All right, the Asomtom Q7 does come with hydraulic disc brakes, which is a big upgrade. I'm pretty sure they're not going to all come with exactly the same brakes, but mine came with the Zoom brakes, and so far they've worked awesome, no complaints. All right, so I'll go ahead and turn the bike on, which you do with this switch right above the controls for the assist modes. Hold that down, and then our screen comes on. It's a perfectly fine screen. Really, the one minor criticism of it, though it's not bad with the upgraded light, is that it can be a little bit bright at night. It does dim itself some when the headlight comes on, but the built-in headlight is just so inadequate that the screen actually can be a little overwhelming. But yeah, I have no complaints about the screen. You can cycle through the assist modes. You can see it starts in 1, which I think will limit you to around 4 miles an hour. And then you can bump that up to, I guess, 8. The modes that are the most interesting are the ones that I use the most, unless I'm riding around people, which those middle modes are good for, but are the top 2, which are just 2 different levels of sport. And so this is where battery life, from what I've noticed so far, you can see I have 105 miles on it, can really stand out between these 2 modes, because the top mode is that totally unrestricted mode where it'll, just go, and try to go, it seems like, as fast as you can pedal along with it. So I've been hitting over 30 miles an hour regularly on reasonably flat ground using that. And then, but I have also noticed if I'm just bombing around town on that I'm only going to get like around 20 miles on the charge, which is not really at all what this was advertised for on the pedal assist mode. I think they advertised 35 on throttle and 45 on pedal assist, obviously up to. So I understand fully that the different assist modes are obviously the higher ones are going to use more battery life. But since I'm pedaling along with it, you know, it feels a little bit disappointing to only be getting around 20 on that highest assist mode. But at the same time, I totally get it. So to get longer battery life, you're probably going to be spending most of your time in level 4, which tops out at 20 miles an hour, which is perfectly comfortable to cruise around on, because there are definitely times when getting up into the 30s can be, you know, it feels fast on a bike. One final note on the cockpit is that there is a button to disable and enable the throttle. It is enabled by default. I guess maybe it's a toggle, yeah, so it just stays in between. I was trying to think if it was enabled by default or not when the bike is turned on, but it looks like it'll just stay to wherever you set it when you were last using it. In addition to the headlight that I added, I did also add the mirror that is not stock. All right, moving down from the cockpit, we've got the suspension fork. It is an adjustable coil fork, which is cool. I don't really know how these work that much, but you can adjust it on that side, and then on the other side, if we swing over, you can also lock it and put it into full rigid mode if you are gonna be all on pavement and just wanna prioritize speed. And yeah, the fork feels pretty good. I'm not an expert on forks. I don't have really high-end mountain bike experience, but yeah, it definitely works. You can feel it going down and providing a little bit of extra comfort on the rides. Speaking of ride comfort, I will say that the fat tires themselves make a big difference, I think, in terms of soaking up, especially small bumps on the roads and gravel trails, which I ride on a lot. When I switch back to my other bike, which is just a sort of regular standard mountain bike size, 26 by 2.4, it feels a lot rougher. So these fat tires definitely make a big difference. The tires that this bike comes with are definitely one area of skimping, which we'll hit on a few others, because they are, well, there's the branding. So they don't really seem to be much of a brand name. They have this logo, which is the only brand that's on it. And I'm not familiar with that logo, so I'm not sure if these are, you know, made by just sort of an off-brand for reputable manufacturer, but I've never seen tires like this before. About 105 miles in, and I haven't had any problems. I've hit some pretty big potholes, and, you know, no flats yet, no explosions, so One other design feature I do like about this bike is that it uses a through axle on the front and back, which is a nice safety feature, especially, you know, on a bike that can easily get over 30 miles an hour. That just, you know, really makes sure that that wheel is going to stay locked on there and nothing's going to happen. I'll quickly mention another upgrade I did, which was adding these Fuker pedals that I got off of Amazon at the same time I bought the bike. The pedals this bike comes with are also another skimp area. I don't have them in front of me to show you, but they don't rotate very well. They're very rough, and they have almost no grip. So for 20 bucks, these are a really nice upgrade, and my feet have been very well planted. All right, I will also mention one slight issue I've had on the back rim that I need to contact Asomtom about to see if they can send me some replacement spokes, is that there are a couple of spokes that are not tightening, that I'm not sure if those broke going over a pothole, although the wheel didn't seem totally true from the factory. So the back wheel hasn't been perfectly true. It hasn't been a major issue, but it could be affecting performance and battery life a little bit, because there is a tiny little bit of rub on the disc brake that I think is being caused by the wheel more than the disc brake itself. So one thing to note, it hasn't been a big deal for me. Like I said, I'm still cruising around over 30 miles an hour, no problem. But that little bit of rub is probably slowing things down a bit and could affect the longevity of the rim. So I need to reach out to Asomtom about that and see if I can get some replacement spokes. All right, so as you can see, or probably not see, we're in the official headlight testing zone. So first, let's try out the built-in headlight, which you do by holding down the mode for shifting up. I've got it pointed down a little bit low. Let's get it pointed out there, and as you can see, it does an okay job of illuminating things, but it only really spreads out once you point it way down the road. So now I'll turn on my aftermarket light. Wow, what a difference. So this is definitely a way better solution. This is the brightest mode on the aftermarket. There are 3 different brightnesses. This is the dimmest, which still provides, I think, a much more rideable experience. Let's turn off the built-in one. yeah, like you barely even notice it's gone. There was a little bit way down, so yeah, the built-in headlight, it's not that it's not bright enough, it's just not a good headlight for a bike, unfortunately. So actually, while I'm recording, this is a good spot to do a throttle test. Just, you know, with the helmet cam. I'll try to do another one where you can actually see the speedometer, but I will try to do some commentary on what kind of speeds I'm getting on this little straight right here. Throttle on, no pedaling. We are at 10, 15, 18, 20, got a stop sign up there, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, going down a little bit, over 31 before I have to get on the brakes. So, pretty quick. Once again, does not seem to be restricted. One more slight negative, or pretty big negative depending on how you look at it, with the Q7 is that there's no spot on the back to mount a rack. There are no eyelets to like drill in or screw in a rack. And the seat stays are also so beefy, which is part of what drew me to the bike and why it has such a high weight rating and it's such a stiff frame, that it's also really tough to use those universal ones. So if you want to put a heavy-duty rack on this, you're probably going to have to get pretty creative with figuring out a way to mount it. Well, that's about it. So to wrap up my impressions on the Asomtom AO-Q7, I think it's a pretty great bike, especially for the price. There are definitely some areas, the tires, the headlight, the pedals, where you can see skimping. No ability to mount a rack, but those are all things that are relatively easy to address if you're a handy sort of DIY-oriented person. And beyond that, you're getting a whole lot of bike for the money, and I think it's very attractive. I got the dark gray one. The paint actually seems like it's going to hold up. I actually did experiment with a temporary sort of lightweight rack that did a little banging around, and it seems like a pretty well-made bike. So yeah, you know, mine was perfect out of the box. Aside from the back wheel, everything's worked, so I can't really speak to customer service, but I guess that's a good sign that I haven't really had to use it too much. So let me know if you have any questions about this bike, and I will try to give you an answer. Thanks for watching.